All right, lesson 17, importance of literacy in the classroom. So we've looked at the impact of literacy and literacy from the world, from the US to Canada to Medicine Hat, and now we're going to pull it tight into the classroom. So we're going to have a look at it now. What does literacy look like in our particular, and I'm going to bring it down to Alberta classrooms here. Okay, so just to start us off, here are some quotes from International Literacy Day. So reading is thinking. Reading opens the door to unlimited knowledge. Reading is part of life. Reading gives you a new perspective on life. I like this one. Books are home. Writing is speaking with ink. Reading allows us to discover new places, and literacy is power and transforms lives. I thought it was inspirational, just to get us going in when we're talking about literacy in the classroom. Okay, so let's think about, you've probably heard lots of talk coming down from Alberta Education about the importance of literacy. And I just, this is from just a couple days ago, and you almost always will see something that's saying that the Alberta government and the Alberta Education is emphasizing literacy. And you'll see numeracy as well, but I'll leave numeracy for Laura Lee. I'm going to talk just about literacy. So again, it's a big topic, and it's a big part of new programming coming in under Alberta Education. Also, remember, we've talked about human capital theory. We've talked about the impact on economics from world to country. We're also, again, the Alberta government is also seeing that that's a little bit that literacy is an important part of our economic construct as a province. So again, they're going back to the sort of the industrial era time, where basic reading, basic writing, and basic math was good. Then we went into sort of post-industrial age, where there was mass production of product, where reading, writing, computations, basic problem solving was what you needed to have. And now that we are in a knowledge society, we need to have higher literacy skills, technological adeptness, coping with information, innovation, collaboration, and complex problem solving. So the Alberta government is well aware that literacy is important. How they go about that is up for debate, and that will be something that we can do at another time. Okay, so the definition of literacy from Alberta Education is: literacy is the ability, confidence, and willingness to engage with language. And if you define language as a socially and culturally constructed system of communication, so to engage with language, to acquire, construct, and communicate meaning in all aspects of daily life. Sorry, daily living would be the word there. So I think this is important. Literacy is the ability, confidence, and willingness to engage with language. So that's the ultimate of what we are wanting our students in our Alberta classrooms, well, and really anywhere in Canada. That's what we ultimately want them to be able to do. Okay, I got my mouse back here. Okay, so why does Alberta Ed think literacy is important? Okay, so these are again some mandates from Alberta Ed. Our Alberta students need strong literacy and numeracy skills to navigate and make meaning in an increasingly complex and changing world. Literacy and numeracy are the means through which individuals access and understand information. Literacy and numeracy are foundational to successful living, learning, and working in today's society. Literacy and numeracy are used to acquire, construct, and communicate understanding of all content in all subjects and disciplines and at all grade levels. So this is not just focusing on ELA, on English Language Arts classroom, but we're talking about, we are wanting, you as a teacher will need to think about literacy in all subjects and all disciplines at all grade levels. Okay, so just get your head around that. Alberta Education envisions a more intentional approach to literacy and numeracy development in all subjects and disciplines and all grade levels. And I'm going to show you what that actually means. Okay, so you may see this around when you ever get to come back to the college. we have these posters up, especially in S103. So you've probably seen this poster. So here we have Alberta students at the middle where they should be. Then look at what is right around them. Literacy, numeracy, literacy, numeracy. So you can tell that literacy is absolutely a key part of what Alberta education feels is vitally important to be working towards for our students. Okay, so then this is kind of the visual for that Alberta Ed has put out. Okay, now what I want you to do is these are the Alberta Education literacy progressions, and this is a bit of an overview. It's about a 2-page overview. I want you to just go to this now, stop me and have a go to this and have a look through so that you kind of get a sense of how Alberta Education is proposing that teachers in all subject areas and in all grades actually teach literacy, and a little bit about why it's so vitally important. Okay, so stop me, go here. We are also going to have a bit of a go with this document in Collaborate, so do have a look at it. Okay, hopefully that gave you a little bit of an idea. We'll have a bit of time to unpack it and Collaborate. So if you're like, whoa, I don't understand everything, that's okay. We'll have time to answer some questions and go through some things about that particular document. So now let's start to bring it down to what does literacy across learning in school actually look like? So it comes down to these 4 aspects. All teachers are in a position to make important contributions to developing and reinforcing literacy skills. So if you're like, yeah, but I'm going to be a high school phys ed teacher, it's kind of like you still have, as the teacher, you have, link it into the next one, responsibility, because you now know how important literacy is. And we can't say, oh, that's the language arts teacher's responsibility. No, it's every teacher's responsibility to focus on literacy. Okay, all teachers have the responsibility to take approaches that will progress literacy skills. And the next point, we all need to ask the question, how am I meeting literacy needs of the learners in front of me? And students need rich literacy experiences as part of their day-to-day learning, is part of every class, and again, not just in LA class. But you're kind of going, wow, I got a lot to do. Like if I'm a junior high science teacher, or I'm teaching grade 1, I got a lot of other things to do other than literacy. Okay, what we're going to do is look at that and see how you can teach literacy without sacrificing your particular subject area. Okay, so again, let's look at it broadly. So 4 major aims of learning and teaching literacy across curriculum. So this is what you're kind of aiming for. So you want to broaden and enhance children's command of literacy skills by providing them with a range of different contexts in which to use and practice these skills. Okay, we want to identify literacy skills that are central to a particular subject to support children's learning. We want to enhance the learning of the subject itself and the attitudes of children towards that learning. And we want to provide a rich source of experience, language, and stimulation to support development of speaking, listening, reading, writing, viewing, and representing. So hopefully that is familiar to you. Okay, so if you only focus on literacy in language arts class, you miss so much potential information. So say you're teaching grade 4 unit on electricity. What kind of vocab could you actually teach in that lesson? So you could bring in things like current, circuit, transformers, voltage, ions, solar self, solar energy, static electricity, parallel circuit, electrolyte, electrodes, right? So you could bring in a lot of vocab in a science unit that may be really important for your students to learn to understand the science concept, but at the same time, you are building their vocabulary, but in a really authentic way. So what it does is it just takes a little bit of a shift in the brain to go, okay, I'm still teaching science concepts, but if I just wrote those words on the board, or maybe if I gave them to the homeroom teacher, they could be on a spelling test. Or if you're the homeroom teacher, then you bring these words into some kind of a spelling test, or you bring it into a writing assignment. So it's not a sacrifice of teaching science concepts, but it's just a little bit of a, hey, how could I actually focus on some literacy skills, but within my subject area? Okay, so now we're going to jump into these two documents, and I want you to have a look at the poster, the literacy progression poster. This is SAPDC, so Southern Alberta Professional Development Consortium. That's what that means. Have a look at that poster because it gives you kind of an overview of what's going on in the Alberta Education Literacy Progressions. And then these are the literacy progressions that teachers get. So this is what goes out to all of the teachers. Especially read through the description, the first 3 pages, and then actually have a look at the literacy progressions. And again, we're going to unpack this a little bit in Collaborate. Okay, how we're going to unpack this is I'll just read this. Discuss from your practicums where you are seeing literacy skills being taught, especially at the third and fourth ring of the poster. So when you see your poster, I want you to focus on the third and fourth ring here. So I want you to look at where are you seeing literacy being taught, both in ELA, English Language Arts class, and in other classes. So if you're in science, are you seeing science? Are you seeing math? Are you seeing music? Or you've been in an ELA or an ELL classroom? Where are they teaching literacy skills, and how are they teaching those literacy skills? So be ready for each person in your group to share at least one example from your first year practicum or this year's practicum. So any practicum that you've been on, where did you notice the teachers teaching literacy skills? Base it on these two documents. This will take you a while. I've allotted about 15 to 20 minutes of this lecture for you to actually go and look at these documents. So take some time. Take some time in there. Okay, so this is for Collaborate. So again, we have a lot to do in Collaborate. As we go through the next few slides, think about how you could teach literacy in all of the following classes. So if you were teaching grade 4, how could you teach the solar system in science? How could you teach Alberta history? How could you teach multiplication in math using 0 to 3? How could you teach a puppet show and support literacy? And how could you support literacy in a language arts class writing free verse poetry? So again, just spin some ideas as we go through these next few slides about how you think you might be able to teach literacy. Okay. Indicators of broad cross-curricular literacy experiences. So again, these are the big ideas that we are aiming for. So children move from dealing with straightforward information towards analyzing and evaluating, right? We don't want them just to be reading the text. We want them to be analyzing and evaluating. Children will progress towards ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute in varying contexts in and beyond the classroom. And we want them to have enthusiasm and motivation for using language and for engaging with text will emerge. So we want them to engage with a broad range of texts. So it could be any of these novels. So again, think about science, social, phys ed, music. How could you bring in novel, short story, reference text, spoken word, charts, maps, graphs, advertisements, comics, CVs, letters, films, games, TV shows, labels, signs, recipes, reports, text messages, blogs, YouTube, Instagram, websites? Pretty much everything is a text. So anything that you bring in that is text-based, you can use to build literacy. Okay, so again, it's not sort of this weird, they must read a novel in your phys ed class. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Signs, posters, they should be doing that in phys ed class. They should be reading those things in your class. Ways to include literacy across the curriculum. So you engage with others in group and class discussion. You engage in collaborative learning. You find, select, sort, summarize, and link information from a variety of texts. You discuss orally similarities and differences between texts. You write notes. You develop ideas and acknowledge class and community resources in written work. Create a presentation, which allows learners to persuade, argue, explore ideas, and you gain understanding of the differences in text between fact and opinion. Okay? So are these really weird, crazy things? No, these are pretty solid um, teacher modes of teaching any subject. So when you, however, are engaging with others in group and class discussion in a science class, that is supporting literacy because you are getting them to actually formulate their ideas. So again, I want to stress that it's our responsibility as a teacher of any subject, but it doesn't have to be hard. We should want to include literacy because we know how important literacy is. Okay, let me read you an example here. So again, I want you to jot down some ways that Fatma brought in literacy skills into her grade 5 science class. And then again, we'll discuss this in Collaborate. Okay, so here's Fatma's story. Fatma joined Bakai School as an elementary teacher 2 years ago. She teaches science and is a teacher in a grade 5 class. Many of her pupils have difficulties in reading from the science textbook, so Fatma plans ways of teaching them about science that makes it easier for them to access the information in the textbook. Fatma planned to teach the class about the classification of animals. She started the lesson by showing the children the names of the 5 classes or groups of animals with backbones. She had written these on flashcards and displayed them on her desk. She then gave each child a picture of an animal and then asked each child in turn to come up to the front and put the picture next to the flashcard with the name of the animal class to which they thought it belonged. Then she asked children questions about what they knew about the animal classes, the characteristics of each class, and the differences between the classes. She asked them to create something, for example, make up a song or design a poster to show what they knew about the animal class. Or they could draw different animals from that class and write about them, which they could then make into a book. In the next lesson, Fatma asked each group of students to present their work to the rest of the class. The children were really excited about the activities, and some asked if they could do more work on their animal projects. After the topic, Fatma thought about the lessons and how much the children had joined in and enjoyed them. She was very surprised how much they seemed to gain from them, even those who did not normally join in much with activities. Okay. So, hopefully you grabbed some ideas of how Fatma brought in ways of teaching literacy skills, literacy competencies, but didn't get bogged down in literacy, but supported literacy um, uh, knowledge, education through her science class. Okay, so literacy in all subjects is, again, one of the Alberta education mandates. So again, why literacy and numeracy in all subject areas? Students' understanding of the subject content is enhanced through the use of literacy and numeracy skills. When numeracy is integrated in all subjects, students' numeracy skills are strengthened. So when you're thinking about promoting literacy in your social, science, music, phys ed class, how can this subject be used for a context-developed numeracy, and how does literacy contribute to deeper understanding of the subject? Okay, so again, if you are bored and like have an extra, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, you could go here. It's kind of about a 50-page in-depth slideshow of why literacy and numeracy are important, but you don't have to do that. But if you're just, you're looking for something to do, okay, here we go. So that actually is I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope, I did not miss anything. Okay, so we are going to have lots of good discussion about Alberta education documents in Collaborate. So do have a good look at those, because those literacy progressions you will use in 3rd and 4th year as well. So it's good to get them under your belt now so that you so that you can really use them in third and fourth year. Awesome. Have a good, I did give you lots, it's a pretty short lectures because I want you to spend a fair bit of time looking at those documents. So dive in and we will see you in Collaborate.